Welcome to the MuseScore Battery Percussion tutorial, where we're learning how to take our music that we've written, performed, and to input it onto a computer so that we can write music for a battery percussion band. The first thing we're going to do is open MuseScore and create a new blank score. We're going to fill in the title and the composer, rhythm composition assessment, and your name. So mine's Katie Higgins with capitals. Then we're going to go down to instruments and open up the percussion ones and get battery percussion open. We're going to click next, and our key is just going to be atonal, the big one with the X, because there's no pitch. Next we have the time signature, which is already on 4/4, meaning 4 beats in a bar, and that's how we want it, so we'll just leave it the way it is. Then we're going to change the amount of bars to 8 if we're in year 8, or 4 if we're in year 7. Our page opens and the first instrument we're introduced to is the snare drum. Then we've got the tenor drums, the bass drums, and finally we have cymbals. Next we open up our cheat sheet, and we've been given all these different rhythms that make our compositions more interesting. The first one we're going to look at has 8 quavers, so 8 half beats. T, 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 T. So we're going to make sure our N is selected, and we're going to pick our half note or a quaver, and we're going to input 8 of them. Next we're going to go back to our composition cheat sheet, and we're going to notice the triplet section. So we're going to need to use crotchets. Click the button add, then tuplet, then triplet. So we're going to change our note to a crotchet beat, and we're going to input 4 of those. Next we're going to unselect the N because we don't want to actually input any notes. Then we're going to select the bar that we want to edit. Then we're going to go add, tuplet, then triplet. And now we can see all of these quaver rests, so we want to fill them in with actual quaver notes. So we're just going to click on each rest with a note to replace it. Working through some of our other examples, we have semiquaver, semiquaver, quaver, or in bar 5, quaver, semiquaver, semiquaver, and then bar 6 is semiquaver, quaver, semiquaver. Sounds a little bit tricky, but once we try to input it, it becomes a lot more simple. So the first thing we want to do is change it to a semiquaver, which we've already done, input 2 of them, and then change it to a quaver and input that one. And I just want to repeat the whole process 3 more times. And then it's inputted. Next we have a more challenging one. So we're going to want to change it to have a rest, and then a semiquaver and a semiquaver. So we click on the quaver and then on the rest symbol to make a rest. And then 2 more semiquavers. And we repeat this whole process for the entire bar. Just then I made a mistake, and so it's really easy to push that back arrow if you've made one, just to remove it. The next challenge we have is that we're going to use a dotted note. So I'm going to click on this quaver and then the dot and input that, and then change it to a semiquaver, and then repeat that process again. Next we have an ostinato, remembering that last week we learned an ostinato is a pattern that repeats. So the Pirates of the Caribbean theme that we know really well sounds like. This repeated pattern is an ostinato, and we're going to try use some in our own work. That was just an example of one line. This time we're going to have 2 lines with an ostinato that goes against each other. Next, we're going to have 3 different ostinatos going against each other at the same time. And finally, all 4 come together. Next, we have dynamics and expressive techniques. Dynamics talks about how loud or soft we play something, and expressive techniques talks about how we play it. So we go to the dynamic section of our palette, and we have triple P, which is really, really soft, all the way to triple F. Or we can go to extra, to more, and see others. I've already put P on my first bar, on the first note of each line. And now I'm going to show you how to input a different one. So I'm going to choose F. I just click on the note that I want to put the F under. Oh, and this one I chose MF, so it wasn't as loud. And I need to make sure I put it on each line, otherwise some will be loud and some won't be. To make it crescendo, or gradually getting louder, we want to open the line section. We want to click on the note where we want to input it on our piece, and then we just click on the crescendo symbol. We want to make sure to do this on every line, otherwise only one instrument gets louder, not every single one. And that's all of my dynamics added. Next, I'm going to do some expressive techniques. So I'll go to articulation. I'm going to choose an accent mark to begin with, which means to stress the note or to just play it a little harder than usual. I'm going to try it just on the first beat of my triplet group, on the first one and the third one, and see how that sounds. It's not quite what I wanted, so I'm going to add it to a few extra places, and I'm also going to add a pause mark later on, which just means to pause on the note or to stay there just a little bit longer than usual. Something else we learned about this term has been tempo, talking about how fast or slow the music is played. I'm going to put it as largo, which if you remember is slow. I don't really like that, so I'm going to have a try with something a little bit faster. That's a little bit too fast. Something in the middle would suit me better. And that's absolutely perfect. Finally, you really need to make sure that you save your work properly. So click File, Save As, and save it with your name on it to the desktop. And that's perfect. Then we want to go to our Google Classroom and go to the assignment page and actually upload our document there. I'm going to upload it as an assessment task now. So I'm going down to where I've saved my file and click Upload. And then you're finished.